During his trip to Russia in a show of support to the LGBT community, U.S. President Barack Obama will meet gay activists who have been protesting Russia's crackdown on the rights of members of the gay community. The Russian parliament is debating whether the recently introduced ban on propaganda of non-traditional sex relations to minors should be extended to families. The move would strip homosexual parents' rights to raise their own children. Our guests have been following the escalating tensions. Oleg Jelezniakov, I practiced it in my head, is a Russian gay rights activist and joins us as well with the Russian LGBT community. And Tanya Cooper is the Russia researcher for Human Rights Watch. Thank you both for being here with us, and I apologize for mangling your last name. I'll try to make it right at the end of the segment. First of all, Oleg, I want to start with you. I know you live here in New York City,
I do.
But you go to Russia and certainly are familiar with the climate there. Just generally in society, what are the societal attitudes toward the gay community there?
Well, the attitudes, I have to say there's still a lot of ignorance. What I see is the lack of information and education, because all they get the information from is the state-sponsored media. I would say people don't know a lot about, but there's certainly an elevated level of aggression in general and contempt towards gays.
Have there been a lot of incidents of hate crimes and violence against members of the gay community?
There's been quite a lot, and those are actually largely publicized. You can see footage of the demonstrations and a couple of dozens of LGBT activists out there trying to protest and go out on the streets for their rights, and you have literally hundreds of, like a couple of hundreds of people there to, throw stones at them. And you also have cases of abductions of a group of people who, some of them identify themselves as Nazi, and they have their pictures all over the internet openly. Openly thinking that they're in their own way fighting for the purity of nation and for traditional values.
Tanya, I know that the Human Rights Watch has taken on as a cause to address this issue of the gay community, the LGBT community. How will you approach it? How do you approach this issue to raise awareness and lower ignorance, as Oleg just referred to?
Right. Well, Human Rights Watch has been dealing with this issue for a very long time already, for several years, and we've been addressing similar propaganda laws in other countries as well. So this is a very difficult issue, and Human Rights Watch straightforwardly called for to repeal this law from the Russian parliament and the Russian president. This is a bigger issue that Oleg is talking about here, because it talks about Russian society and how to change their views about homosexuality and how they treat homosexuals in Russia. And we see the big role here of the Russian government, who would not endorse homophobia by adopting similar laws like this, who would instead talk publicly about tolerance, about accepting homosexuals in the Russian society and not treating them as aliens to the Russian society.
Of course, we know that President Obama is in St. Petersburg now for the G20 summit, and he said while he was there that he would in fact meet with gay rights activists, and that had to be really great news. However, President Putin said, well, I would have met with them too. Nobody asked me. Is there any effort to have conversation?
Well, actually, I think his statement came right after Obama announced that he was going to meet with LGBT activists. So it was a little bit delayed, and it felt more like a response. And the way he phrased it was, like you said, I would have met with them, but nobody really applied. Nobody asked me. Sounded a little bit weak. As for Obama, I'm really proud of that particular move. That is incredible, because it gives a lot of validation to LGBT people in Russia in general, because they do not have adequate representation in the press. And on the other hand, it gives a lot of validation to everybody, all the gays all over the world. because it shows that this is an important issue for the President of the United States.
Yeah, and speaking of which, this does raise the issue on the international scene because of the upcoming Olympics, and that makes it an opportune time to raise this conversation on an international level. I wonder, though, whether or not things will just go back to normal after the Olympics. He has said that he wouldn't enforce any policies, that people would be free to be the athletes would be free to be who they are, but might he not just regress back into these oppressive policies after the Olympics is over?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is actually not a lot of improvement in the situation in general, because the International Olympic Committee is telling us that it received several assurances from high-ranking Russian officials about that this law would not be applied and the guests and the athletes will be safe. But at the same time, we see that other Russian officials are talking about the application of this law, no matter who they are, no matter what the time is. And as you actually mentioned at the beginning of the segment, we are seeing another draft law that further discriminates against the LGBT people in Russia. So I would just say that this is a prime time for everyone, for citizens and their governments, to call on the International Olympic Committee, on their governments, to address the situation, to speak very strongly against this discrimination.
And I just wanted to add regarding the whole situation. I don't think that this is an improvement, because Russia has been caught in their own inconsistencies in the publicity, in their PR, because they issue one statement to the foreign press saying that we will not enforce the law or something like that, and then they turn around and issue another one in Russian saying, no, the law will be enforced. If you're welcome to come to the Olympics, but if you are caught on the streets holding hands or showing in any other way that you are gay, you will be jailed or deported from out of the country. So yeah, and these inconsistencies that just makes everything else pretty incredible. The credibility is pretty low to what the representative of Russian Olympic Committee says.
Well, at the very least, the conversation is being had, and that's an important first step. Tanya Cooper, thank you very much. Oleg Jelezniakov, thank you. Appreciate it. Was that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Arise America.